Welcome to the Love is Our Nature podcast, where we discuss all things ranging from love, relationships, authenticity, fulfillment, to lessons from plant medicine journeys, inner healing, and living your truth. I'm not your teacher, I'm only your fellow student. Occasionally, you also get to hear some of my own healing process and journey back to love. The point of the program? That you take away at least one actionable piece of knowledge that supports you in expanding whatever aspect of your life your heart most desires. My name is Cesar Rodriguez. I will be your host, and I am honored to have you here. Happy listening. Welcome again to the Love is Our Nature podcast. Welcome to the jungle. I'm here in Santa Teresa, Costa Rica, in my beautiful home, Templo Lila. And I'm here with an amazing guest that I'm going to tell you all about right now. I'm very happy to have her. Her name is Alesha McNeill. Alesha McNeill is a manifestation queen, feminine energy mentor, breathwork facilitator, and world traveler. She is known for her unique approach to manifestation, money, pleasure, and business energetics. But this is not where her story began. After healing from experiencing severe anxiety, depression, and eating disorders for over 5 years, Alesha turned her pain into her purpose and began her coaching business in 2019. She believes that everyone has the power to use their mind and emotions to bend time and space to manifest anything they desire. She teaches people how to no longer chase success, but rather sit back, accept it, and receive it. In the past 2.5 years, Alesha has helped hundreds of people discover their own magic within. She celebrates her clients who manifest dream careers, relationships, homes, orgasms, and synchronicities that feel like actual magic. With no ads or sales funnels, Alesha's rapid growth and success is a testament to her embodiment and devotion to the work she's teaching people all over the world. Her ability to speak her chosen reality and pull it out of the quantum field leaves people feeling puzzled and in awe. Welcome, Alesha.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited that you're here. This is so great that we get to hop on and talk about a topic that I love, manifestation. Yes. So how are you doing? Here you are living in the jungle beach of Santa Teresa, Costa Rica. How do you like it here?
I love it here. It's wild because I've always dreamed of living in an environment where I feel like it's so easy to feel love and pleasure and joy. Mm-hmm. And it's like in all of my manifestation practices, I could dream and imagine that kind of place, but for me to actually be here now, it's wild to look back and see how it all unfolded, mm-hmm. because it's almost like you don't really realize how it happens until it happens. And now I wake up every morning, I have this beautiful view of the ocean, the trees, the breeze, incredible people around me. So I feel very blessed and grateful to be here, and grateful that I did the inner work that allowed me to manifest this life in this home.
Amazing. Yeah. And I've been so lucky to learn a little bit about your story and your life and how you got here, but I'm really interested in hearing more about how you wound up with this life, right? I think there'll be a lot of value for our listeners to get an inside look as to what it is to actually deal with those things that we all deal with, right? Like our obstacles, our own inner self-talk, our own self-doubt, right? So why don't you tell us a little bit more about like how it was before? How was it like those 5 years ago? Like what did you go through?
Yeah. Before, when I was like struggling with anxiety and depression and my eating disorders, is that what you're referring to? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was such a dark, challenging time for me, because it was like I could see people living a reality that sounded really fun and incredible, but I thought it wasn't for me. I remember I used to, like, I can see this image vividly, this memory of me laying on this couch, and the home I was living in, it didn't have any natural lighting, and I'm obsessed with natural lighting. And I remember it was like, it felt like a dungeon, and it had this one small window that had some light coming in. But I remember I would lay on the couch feeling like I was in a dungeon, just so in the thick of my shit, my internal anxiety and feeling like I wasn't good enough. And I'd look at my phone and I'd scroll on Instagram and I'd see all of these travel bloggers, and I'd see people just being so happy traveling the world. And I literally would sit there and think like, they're so lucky. Like they have what I don't have. And I used to think that I needed to be skinnier. I needed to be prettier. I needed to be smarter, have more degrees. I was always like very unconsciously thinking I needed to change myself in order to get there. And also that it would like never happen. And now when I look at those things, I'm like, oh, great. Like this is something I get to have. Like this is exciting. I get to create that if I want it. But
one second. So right there, what was the catalyst for that? Like what took you from, oh, wow, that's so nice that they get to have those things. I wish I could have those things to, oh, wait a second, I can actually have those things.
Yeah.
What changed? I think if we get a look at that, that would be great.
I think what the main thing that changed was I hit an all-time low. Like, I remember this moment too, like a very rock bottom moment. I was in the same home and it was almost my birthday. I can't remember what age I was turning, but it doesn't matter. It was the day before my birthday and I'm laying in bed and I'm reflecting on the past year and I just start bawling my eyes out. I was struggling with bulimia. And I told myself on my birthday the prior year, I would never do it again. My life would be different on my birthday next year. And I'm just laying in bed, like bawling my eyes out because it was the same. I was repeating the same cycles and patterns that made me feel like crap every single day, always saying this will be the last time. And I think because I hit such a low, this like, I would call it like a divine intervention. I remember within a few days, maybe it was the same day, I saw a post on Instagram and there was this woman talking about self-love. And I was reading the paragraph that she wrote and something within me shifted. And something within me realized, oh, wait, everything I'm looking for and wanting I can give to myself. And it was like one of those moments where it just lands in your body so fully. And from there, step by step, little by little, I began to love myself more. And I began to believe that I actually had some sort of power over the life that I'm creating. It wasn't like everything changed overnight, but that was the moment that opens me up to self-development and personal development. And I think as I began to love and have compassion with myself more and more, I began to notice my reality would shift and opportunities would arise.
Right.
And then, of course, I was led to learn about manifestation. And then I was like, whoa, we can take this like to level 1,000,000 and like really, really shift things. But that would have been like the pivotal moment.
For sure. And I thought you'd be the perfect person to have this conversation about manifestation and creating your dream life. Because I see you and I've seen the drastic shift, and here you are in paradise and you've got your own business, you coach other people in creating their dream lives and you do that well. So, where did you start to learn about manifestation? You were before working what were you doing for work? Personal trainer. So then could you take us a little bit as things started to shift once you got that insight?
Yeah. So I've always been really interested in how the mind influences the body.
Yeah.
In college and grad school, I studied sport and exercise psychology. So how to use your mind to improve athletic performance. And it just fascinated me. And I was really focused on fitness and how can we use the mind to improve fitness. And as I began healing my own disordered eating and body image, and I was working as a personal trainer, I started to notice people in the gym that were either very successful in their, weight loss journey and strength building, or they weren't at all. But either way, for the most part, the majority of my clients were deeply unhappy. And I was like looking around so frustrated. I was like,
Even the ones losing weight?
Even the ones losing weight.
Why?
Because they would look in the mirror and they'd flap their arms and they'd say, but I still have this. I still have this. I still have this.
It was never good enough.
It was never good enough. And I'm standing there in the gym looking around so frustrated saying, oh my God, I'm not the only one. I used to think I was the only one that thought I needed to change my body in order to be happy. So while I was witnessing all these other humans that felt the same way and were changing their body, but still were finding more parts wrong with them, I was like, I need to help them do the inner work. So that's when I decided to start an online coaching business. And I was personal training with self-love. And then as my clients started to manifest just through internal work.
What self-love?
What is self-love?
No, you said something along with self-love?
Personal training and self-love.
Okay, personal training and self-love.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting mix. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was realizing doing the external work would only take us so far, especially if the intention is I'm just doing this to change my body. And as my clients were falling more in love with themselves, they started to manifest naturally without even learning about manifestation. Dream relationships, dream careers, moves. They would begin to release toxic people from their life that were weighing them down. And I think, the universe has always guided me now that I look back. At that same moment in time, I started to be guided to Joe Dispenza books and Abraham Hicks and all of these manifestation teachers.
Yeah.
And then I just fully went into manifestation. And I mean, you can hear it in my voice. I'm obsessed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like magic, right? That's such a cool moment when you realize, holy cow, I could create anything.
Right.
Yeah. I was big into the law of attraction and all that. I went old school with it. I wanted to know where it all came from. I became obsessed with the book, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, which is where Rhonda Byrne got her content for The Secret. And she gives him a little credit. And somebody gave me an audiobook version of it when I was 17 years old. I was in network marketing at the time. And I would hear it over and over and over. I remember the first time I listened to that book. It's a powerful book. It's 60 pages, 17 chapters. Every sentence is a punch. So I would listen to it. I remember the first time I had to pause it, rewind, listen to that sentence again, pause, rewind, listen to that sentence again, and then the next sentence. And it was like that just because it was
Me too.
Yeah. I was like, wait, what? It's like there's a thinking stuff from which all things have made. And it's an original form, and all this thing. And I was just like, whoa, what's this thinking stuff? And then I started seeing the same content elsewhere, right? Napoleon Hill talks about the ethers and how everything is already there. We just have to do something to create it, manifest it, and have it show up in the material world.
Totally.
So yeah, for me, I started learning about manifesting at that moment. And that book, I think, did it for me. I must have heard that book about 40 times. My sisters,
wow.
I think, probably hated me because I'd play it on the way to school. I would drive. And that's all we would listen to, the audiobook.
Sometimes they're so good, you just have to keep re-listening.
Yeah, and I'm
no.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just can't. I gotta really learn this stuff.
Yeah.
It was mind blowing. So sure enough, early on, I started seeing certain things happen in my life where I was like, whoa, it worked. I would apply the system, and then it'd show up. And at first, it's kind of like when you first start to use a tool, or when you first try anything, right? It maybe doesn't come out perfectly.
Totally.
But I could see, okay, I wanted a Ferrari, but I have this car out of nowhere, out of thin air. Okay, I wanted a nice office, but hey, I got an office out of nowhere in the corner of a warehouse, and things like that. And I was like, oh wow, things are moving. So So then you started your personal training / self-love coaching business, right? So you'd still working with people to lose weight and achieve their fitness goals, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And then how did things continue to shift into the coaching business you have now?
Yeah. So when I really got big into the manifestation stuff, I had lost my passion for the fitness training. I realized like if people want that, there are people out there who love to teach that. And I just fully went into the manifestation teaching and life coaching and manifest your dream life. And a lot of my work was and still is a huge focus on manifesting feelings, right? Because, I mean, if we look at any manifestation teacher and we learn about it, what we think is important, right? That creates our reality. But oftentimes how people think is they think, I want this thing, so I'm going to do all of these different things to get it. I think absolutely backwards. I think all in terms of energy and emotion. So, okay, yes, I want this beautiful home, an abundance of money, beautiful friendships, and I want to feel good. Okay, what are the emotions that all of that is going to create for me?
Yeah.
Confidence, love, pleasure, joy, happiness, freedom. So my focus then really turned into how can I get my clients to feel these feelings? How can I get them to stop chasing that external thing and feel joy now, feel love now, feel pleasure and presence and happiness and freedom now?
Right.
And then invite in the manifestations, which will naturally, magically begin to unfold on their own when we're embodying those emotions.
Yeah. That's great that you identified that that's actually the effective way to go about it, right?
Totally.
How did you realize that?
I think just through learning and through my own embodiment. Like, it's just how my brain works now is to always think about the emotion first. I think I had chased things for so long to create a feeling within me. And then I began to notice that in everyone else.
Yeah.
And it made me realize that it's actually not how hard we work. It's how soon can we embody the feelings of it already being here.
Yes.
Which is great. Yeah, it's great because not only does it collapse time and it draws our manifestations to us sooner, but it allows us to enjoy life more because, if I'm in the process of manifesting this huge goal, but I'm embodying peace and presence and joy and pleasure every day, then that's going to be a fun as fuck journey.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it, right? Like I've heard it from a couple people, Greg Braden, and I think it was Neil Donald Walsh too, and Conversations with God, and somewhere, I think they both said, like, we've got prayer wrong. Stop asking for what you want, right? Because the universe doesn't speak English from what I've gathered, right? The universe is energetic. Energy's been around a lot longer than language. So when we are expressing our wants, or expressing or broadcasting energetically, is the lack of that thing, right? So that's what those guys said. Instead, like, act as if or feel as if it's there already.
Totally.
And gratitude is a great access for it, right? Because if you can be grateful for that thing which is yet to show up in the material world, then that's the trick, so to speak, I guess. And Wallace D. Wattles talked about it in his book too. He's like, instead of thinking like anti-war, right? Think pro-peace, right? And if you want to do something for other countries, don't look at them as countries in poverty. Look at them as countries coming into wealth. And he creates a distinction of appearance versus truth. He's like, the appearance might be that you have a sick body right now, but the truth is that you're perfect, whole, and complete, right? So he's like, him or her who can think truth in the face of the appearance of an opposite appearance is a mastermind, right? So that's such a great concept to open up and discuss, and also see how it's worked in our own lives.
Totally.
I was just in Miami recently for a few weeks, and I was just so grateful for my life. At one point, I finished my workout, and I'm like, shit, I love my life
Yes.
so much. And I care about people. So immediately what comes next is I'd love to enable people to create their dream life as well. Because, I mean, you don't have to go very far in Western culture to look around people's faces and see them at the grocery store. And I kind of see that many people are maybe a bit miserable, sad, or just numbed out, kind of just going through the motions.
Yeah.
When in fact, we're like in this theme park of opportunities where you can create anything. So
yeah, I think it's important that we have conversations like this and educate people that they can create their reality, because like I have a lot of clients who the first assignment I'll give anyone, no matter what program it is to write out all that you desire and to speak as though it's already here. And there are a lot of humans that are terrified of actually saying what they want, because it creates such it's almost like pre-shame, like that it didn't happen or that it won't happen, or fear that it won't happen. It's like such a fear of claiming what they want because they already believe so fully that it won't happen. So I think it's so important to have these conversations and share like our stories of manifesting and where we were and where we are now, because that gives evidence to those who do feel stuck in their life and who do feel like their current reality is going to be the rest of their future.
Right. Yes. And I love what you pointed to, which is that we often feel like we're missing something or we need something to begin to create it. Right. And I sometimes wonder, like, okay, how can we provide people that ingredient of like the knowing that no, you're not missing anything. You just gotta do it, like go for it now. And obviously not just doing it, right? Because it's not into doing,
right.
But you can get on that track, on that new timeline or whatever you want to call it. Now, you're not missing anything, right? So how do you get somebody to be in that receiving and that mentality where they're like, okay, I could have everything. It's just a matter of time. Yeah.
I think, well, the people who come to me already kind of believe that through story. I'm sure the people who are listening, hello, I'm sure you're believing at least a little bit now that you have some influence over your reality. And you know, one thing that really I think helps me and other people get on board when it feels so far away, right? Like back then, the life I have now felt so far away. Is believing in growth and evolution over a lifetime. Like knowing that if you are devoted to creating whatever it is you want to create, it will happen in this lifetime. I think the concept of time puts people in so much fear because it's like, it's going to take forever. It's going to take so much work. It might take me a certain amount of time. But the truth is, we actually don't know how long it could take. Like the past 2.5 years could have been like, it feels like it's been 20, right? And when, like, for my bigger visions and goals that my mind can't comprehend, I just say, like, over my lifetime, it will happen. And I stop thinking about time and I focus on the now moment. How can I create just a little bit more joy and gratitude today, now? And I think as people begin to really get into the now moment and begin to influence and manipulate in a positive way their emotions, they receive evidence that, like, okay, yes, these dreams, these visions, they're big, they're expansive. Who knows how long they'll take? But I have the power to create some joy and pleasure in my life today and every single day. And I think that evidence and people experiencing those sensations in their body, get them hooked. It's like they get addicted to the practices because they feel better. And it's like, how could I not continue this work when the only other option is to go back to old patterns that make me feel shitty?
Yeah. And you were right earlier when you said you go about it like upside down or reverse, right? Because it's so counterintuitive. And for me, like, I've been a very like structured, rigid person. So like, and a hard worker. So for me, I remember like if I wanted something, I needed to work really hard for it.
Totally.
And I would put the emphasis on the plan and how am I going to do this? And I would go nuts about like the how. And then I didn't quite see the how all the way through and I would get discouraged. And what you're sharing with us is feel good now, right? Like feel the feelings in your body, within you, as if it were already there. And I love the idea of creating whatever else you can in that now moment to create joy, which for me was a very novel concept. Honestly, it's probably been just less than a year that I started really seeing and starting to practice. Okay, let me put an emphasis more on how I feel now in this moment versus trying to see how the heck I'm going to contact all these prospects in my business or something.
Totally.
Right? Because if I'm banging my head against the wall about like where my next client is going to come from, how I'm going to grow the business, then what am I projecting energetically? Right?
Totally.
So what are some of the things that you do to get yourself in a state of joy and that state of like feeling good now that would then magnetize the reality you desire?
Yeah. I'd love to answer that question, but first I just want to say that I was in that phase as well especially when I started my business of hustling and overworking, and I actually burnt myself out. I was working 7 days a week. My eyes would start to seize because I was looking at the computer screen so much, and then I wouldn't even get off. I just put like blue light blocking glasses on. And I truly burnt out. I wasn't social. I was actually using needing to work as an excuse to avoid being vulnerable and making new friends in a new city I was living in. And I eventually hit like such a point of like poor mental health, poor social health, poor physical and like physical body health that it was like that had to happen for me to realize that it's so important for me to think backwards and do this energetically. Because I looked back on like those 4 months that were really intense, and I was like, I feel like I wasted my life. Like I wasn't making the money I wanted. I wasn't serving the people I wanted. And I was like, it really felt like I was wasting my life, and I didn't want to go my whole life doing that. So that's really what motivated me was like the duality of the other side. And how I create joy, that's such a great question. I'd love to give some of the listeners that, because I know sometimes life feels like really, really, really heavy. And it's like, how could I possibly feel joy? And I've definitely been there a lot. And I'll say some of my top ways are first is breath work.
Any particular methodology?
I've done them all. So I teach something called pause breath work, which is like circulating the breath. I have some free ones on my Instagram TV that are pretty short. There's Wim Hof method, which is great. Even Kundalini breathwork is really great too. So if you feel the call to breathwork, you can come to my page or YouTube search breathwork. It's so powerful because it's one thing to think about creating joy and like these feelings in your body, but it's another to experience it, right? And I'm sure you've experienced this in breath work. It just kind of, the breath takes over, it clears out the stuck, heavy emotions in the body. And you're like, whoa, I feel like a new human.
Yeah, breath work blew my mind when I first did it for real.
It's so magic.
It's like, yeah, I did a couple of different ones. And I remember there was one where my whole body was buzzing, and I'm like, wow, like, I'm like high.
Yeah, you get high off your own supply, like truly.
Yeah, I went on a powerful breathwork journey. I talked all about it in episode 4 with the practitioner that I did that with, and it was amazing. Cleared some stuff for me emotionally I didn't even know I was carrying. So okay, breathwork. I'm reminded of of the conversation, and we'll go back to some more practices, by the way, because I want to hear more. But I reminded of the conversation we had when we first hung out. And I was like, so tell me about your business. Like, where do you get your clients? And you're like, okay, well, I get them from the quantum field. You know? And I'm like, oh, of course. How silly of me to ask a question. Obviously, you get them from the quantum field.
Oh my
You know,
God.
you're like, yeah, I hold the vision of clients coming to me, and I'm a marketer, right? So if I go to my clients and tell them, hey, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna tap into the quantum field and get you some more clients, they would like fire me in the spot.
Or
So-
they would hire you on the spot.
The right ones, the smart ones, what? Yes. So if you're out there, you want to grow your business and you're down with using the quantum field, give me a call. Tell us more about that, and then we'll go back to creating joy.
Yeah.
Like, what does it mean to have a client acquisition strategy that is all about reaching into the quantum field?
Yeah, totally. I love how much that made you laugh. Like the first day and every time we've talked about it
Yes.
since. My client acquisition through the quantum field, it literally looks like what you just said. It's so everything's energy, right? And right now, you and I are connected through energy. Everyone listening to this conversation, we're connected through energy, through the waves, through the sound, through the fact that there's this like interconnected field of nothingness and everything that is connecting us to all air, all trees, all money, all humans. And in the quantum fields, every single possibility that exists. Which is mind-blowing. It still blows my mind a lot.
Yeah.
I had to read a lot of like quantum physics books to kind of understand it.
Yeah, and I actually get what you're talking
Right.
about, right? And I don't know if anybody can fully understand it because it's so complex. It's almost like trying to understand God,
Yeah.
but you can develop a certain affinity with that concept that you can start to bring it in and make it your own. So go on.
Totally. And so because every reality exists, there's a there's a reality. I do that sometimes. There's a reality that exists where, you and I aren't recording this podcast.
Yeah.
There's a reality that exists where we recorded it yesterday.
Yeah.
So when it comes to business, there's a reality that exists where I have, let's say, 20 clients. And they have this kind of personality, and they're excited to work with me, and they're excited to invest in themselves with me. And they're already looking for the kind of work that I'm teaching, right? So what I do is I speak to who I am choosing to have. I speak to, I am choosing to quantum leap into the reality where it already exists. So the way I speak, the way I be, and the way I think and do my like visualization, manifestation practices is it's already here. They're already here. And because I do that, and because I hold the belief more and more each day, that evidence begins to come into my reality. And it's like people will direct message me. People will find me through a friend. Sometimes my plane will get, delayed, and I end up in Miami with Caesar for 2 days, meet his awesome friend, and then she ends up working with me. Like,
yeah, crazy.
Yeah, that was the quantum field. And it's like, it's cool because things tend to happen in more magical ways than I could ever imagine. But it really takes faith. And by faith, I don't mean just like religiously, I mean believing that your thought and your emotions create your reality before you see it.
Yeah.
That is like true faith and manifestation.
So good. So good. Yeah. Something interesting that happened for me is one of my fears of coming to Costa Rica where I didn't know anybody, wasn't familiar with the area at all, was like, man, I don't know if I'll be able to successfully run my business from over there. Like, what about Wi-Fi? What about like food, even like where's the grocery store? Like, how am I gonna settle in? I was so used to like my nice corner office in downtown Miami where I had two big monitors. I'm like, I'm not gonna have that over there. Can it really work from my laptop? I don't know. It's kind of annoying. I've tried it at coffee shops. And I arrived in January to Potrero, Costa Rica, where I spent my first 2 months immersed in nature, pretty much on my own in nature, which was amazing. I loved it. And my business started taking off. I was like, I don't know what happened, but business is going better than ever. And I'm working less hours. I'm less stressed out than ever. This is great, right? And now the more I've learned about the energetic field and everything, the more I realize like, wow, yeah, I got in such a state of joy that the reality of my choosing, which would create the most joy, started coming into my reality. So that's so cool.
Yeah, it's cool. I love hearing stories of that where it's like this, I call that like soul-led manifestation, where you weren't necessarily intentionally calling in the business changes, but you were having more joy in your life. So the universe was sending you more joy in all these different portals.
Yes. I also feel a little, maybe it's a little unrelated to manifesting, or maybe not, but I also feel like the universe was also supporting this new route, because I drastically took a new route in my life in December when I chose to come here and walk away from other things. I also felt like the universe was like wooing me on, like saying, you're on the right path. Here you go. Like throw you a bone. Right. And I started seeing signals like, okay, yeah. All right. This is good. I was telling you about like even this place here. I mean, look at my home here. and then a motorcycle, and then an ATV, and then the house, and now like a car. They just kept popping in, and I'm like, all right, the universe is definitely supporting me right now, and it's giving me the experience that like I'm on the right track.
Yeah. Where I think we're always being guided, and there's something called the path of least resistance. How I see that in my mind is like there's a river or a stream of like where our life is meant to be going, like where our soul chose to go when it came down into these bodies. And sometimes we're resisting that, right? Like maybe a few years ago, you would have had a lot of fear of leaving Miami and coming to Costa Rica. So you would be like swimming up the river away from where you're meant to be going, and life would be a little challenging. And I think because you took that leap and you're more surrendered and trusting, it's like you're flowing down this river. So of course, this home, this business, this car, like these friends are just naturally flowing in to support what your soul came here to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. So I hope somewhere along the lines, you all listening, you pick up some gems for yourself out of this conversation. Don't mind our little friend here, Oshana, who's hanging out with us today. What is something you love about this jungle beach life?
Oh, what is something I love? I love how I am like half naked all the time. Like right now, if you're watching us live, I have a bathing suit top on and like a little skirt. I just love wearing basically nothing. Oshana.
She's okay.
I love going to the beach every single day. I love just being surrounded by nature and all of the trees and the monkeys and the humans here. It's funny, when I first came here, I was alone, and I was walking around my first day, and there were a lot of people in like little groups of pods, and I started to feel really lonely and nervous. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know.
Been there?
Yeah, right? And of course, this is like manifestation. I went back to my Airbnb at the time, and I was like, I looked at myself in the mirror, and I was like, Alesha, you are going to make friends here with ease, and they're going to be great, incredible friends. And then the next day, my friend Adam invited me to this party. That's where I met a few of our mutual friends, and it just snowballed.
That was at Bohemia?
That was not at Bohemia.
Okay.
That was at a party, a
Okay.
Harmonies party back in the day.
Oh, cool. I
Yeah,
know
a
her.
couple months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I love the humans here, all the fresh fruit.
Yeah.
There's so much I love here.
Amazing. Amazing. Cool. I love ecstatic dances too.
Yeah, I'm new to those. The
Yeah.
first one I did was here at your house.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was
With
awesome.
Mo's,
With
no
Mo's.
less.
It was so good.
Talk about a fantastic first ecstatic dance experience. Yeah, very close to your place, like a 5-minute walk. Right there's Paramore, and I had never done an ecstatic dance at the beach. Right? Have you ever seen a dance floor that's empty? And it's just something about it, just seeing that empty dance floor. It's like it begs to be danced on, right? So
you, of course, you would say that.
yeah, like when you see a big empty dance floor, like looking all perfect, it just calls. I don't know, I feel that. Maybe that's my thing. So all of a sudden now, when we went to the beach and that's where we were dancing, you had the whole open beach, and it felt like that same feeling times like 100. We're like, wow, this is a dance floor today, and I went nuts. Like I was just in my own. Like at one point, I was just rolling on the sand or doing cartwheels, and it was so cool.
I love
So,
that.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about living here. Is there's ecstatic dances all the time,
Yeah.
and our community too. Our community's such gold.
Yeah, it's a
For
solid
sure.
community.
Yeah, definitely. So we're just about to wrap up, and I definitely will invite you to share your contact information with people in case they want to reach out. Is there anything else that you'd like to share? Well, actually, there's something I wanted to ask you. Maybe we have the time to squeeze this in. What if somebody's saying, all right, guys, Alesha, Caesar, I hear you guys. And that's what I've been doing. I'm feeling the feelings. I'm going for it. I'm calling it in, but it doesn't happen. I keep doing it and it doesn't happen. What would you say to that person?
They're typically like one of three. There are a few reasons why things don't come in. I would invite you to ask yourself, what do I fear if it does happen? Right? What do I fear if it does happen? Is there a part of me that feels like it can't hold whatever it is? Or that I'll be judged, or that, someone will want to take it from me, right? There are all these unconscious fears that if we don't neutralize them, will unconsciously repel that desire from our life.
How do you neutralize them? What's the access?
You accept the worst possible outcome, right? Like it's like when I wanted to manifest a business and I had all this fear of being judged. It was like, okay, yeah, I am going to be judged. I accept that. When I'm manifesting love and friends, it's like, well, I could get hurt and have my heart broken. Okay, that is a possibility. I accept that. But I'd rather have courage and walk with my fears than repel my desires.
That's so good. I love what you said. Accept the worst possible outcome. It hit me deep one time when I was watching Dragon Ball Super. I'm a Dragon Ball Z fan for everybody out there. And have you ever heard about Dragon Ball Z?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've never watched it, but I remember.
Okay, great. So in Dragon Ball Super, so there's this guy Gohan, who's the main character's son, Goku, and his master is Piccolo. And long story short, there's going to be this tournament of the universes where all 12 parallel universes are going to compete, and the God of all things is going to pretty much erase the 11 universes that don't win and just keep one universe. So Gohan is sparring with his master Piccolo, and you could tell he was off because Piccolo kept hitting him, and finally Piccolo's like, what's wrong with you? What's going on? And then Gohan was just like, I just feel so much pressure. Like I don't want to lose my wife, my child. And Piccolo's like, look, if you lose, everything and everyone that you love will die. Accept it and then win.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, yo, Piccolo.
Mic drop.
Yeah, I was like, damn. So that I've seen for sure. That's such a powerful concept. I'm so glad you brought that up. Like, be okay with the worst possible outcome. That's the only way.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you'll be afraid to go for it.
Yeah, I say be okay with that and then move on. Like, don't
Yeah.
focus on the worst possible outcome.
Right.
Because that's another reason why we repel it, is like we want it so bad. We think we're doing all of the practices right, but really we're focusing on what if it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So I always like to say, like, I can handle whatever happens, but I'm going to give all of my energy to it happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. All right, Alesha. Well, if somebody is just all about this content, they want to manifest their own lives, where can they get in touch with you?
Sorry about Oshana.
Don't worry about our little pet. She just got a little friend here. It's okay.
Where can people get in touch with me? So there is one more thing that I would like to share.
Just 1 second.
Okay, just 1 second.
Okay, we're back. We had to put Oshana in a more peaceful place. Alesha's lap. Okay.
The best place to be. Yeah, so I was just going to share one last thing, because you asked me earlier about ways to spark joy, and I said breath work.
Yes.
Yeah, and I just wanted to share one other major way that I've found in myself and everyone is to celebrate yourself. So at the end of each day, placing your hands on your heart and just telling yourself 3 things that you're proud of. And that's going to begin to have you fall in love with yourself, because I know that we can be really mean to ourselves in our mind, like really, really mean, especially if our manifestations aren't here yet. So creating a sense of pride, like feeling proud of yourself, creating a healthy sense of ego. A lot of people fear feeling proud of themselves and believing in themselves and feeling like a queen or a king, because it's like, well, isn't that boosting my ego? But we can never get rid of the ego. We can mold the ego into a healthy sense of ego. So I think that was just really wanting to.
Yeah, no, thank you for bringing that back. I actually promised that we would go back and talk about creating joy and putting yourself in that state where you can magnetize your preferred reality. So at the end of the day, telling yourself 3 things that you're proud of. That's awesome.
Yeah. Becoming your own cheerleader.
Yeah. And I so hear you about like how we can be hard on ourselves. I, in the past, have been like very heavy on myself and just giving myself a hard time. And I remember like even journaling, even like talking down to myself, like how are you still struggling with this? Like, what's wrong with you? You know? So one of the biggest lessons for me in my life has been like giving space for my humanity, right? Like, because we're all just doing the best we can. And it's okay that there's a learning curve. It's okay that there's a gap between where you are now with your skill set, with everything in life, your circumstances, and where you want to be. It's okay that there's that gap.
Totally.
You got to be patient.
And having compassion. Like, love is
I took
our
the
nature,
word out of my
right?
mouth. Yes.
Yeah.
Be loving with yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly. Wonderful. Thank you for saying that.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anything else you want to share?
Yeah. You can find me at Alesha McNeill on Instagram, ALESHA MCNEILL. And that's where you can direct message me, find out what I'm offering, or come do some breath work. And I'd love to say hello.
Wonderful. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We had a great time recording it, and may your manifestations arrive into your field as quickly as they may, and know that it's all within your reach. Just believe it, have faith, keep feeling it in your body. I will continue to do so. So thank you, Alesha, so much for coming on the show. It's been so great having you. It's been great getting to know you and hanging out here in Jungle Beach Paradise.
Yay.
So to many more times to come.
Thank you for having me. It was so fun.
For sure. Bye, everybody. Take care. That is all, folks. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for being a valued listener. If you haven't already, remember to subscribe to the podcast in whatever your favorite platform is. You can also watch the video version of the episode on the Love is Our Nature YouTube channel. Check out loveisournature.com as well. That's where you can see our latest news and most recent content. If you enjoyed the episode, leave a review, share it with your friends, or email me. I love hearing what you took away for yourself out of listening. My email is caesar@loveisOurnature.com. That's CESAR, or Cesar, like my mother says it, at loveisOurnature.com altogether. Till next time, I'll be here rooting for you. And remember, whatever the question, love is the answer.